So now that we've talked about all the things that any new director probably gets boggled down by, we're going to talk about now how to put on a show. Some people, like I discussed in the last video, have never done a show. Maybe they're a chorus teacher and they're used to doing concerts, but maybe haven't done musical theater or theater since they were in high school or middle school. So this is just a very brief overview of some things to think about as you go through your process. Show selection is always something that's so much fun, but also so stressful, because you want to pick the right show. You want to have everything fall into place. So what do you need to think about when picking a show? Don't just pick your favorite shows, because you may not have the ability to pull it off the way you want. So put that aside and think about the size of your cast. Okay. In my classes, I have 30 to 40 students. They are advanced classes, so I want to try and make sure I have a large cast. If you're doing an after school club, you may have 30, you may have 60. So you need to keep that in mind when you're thinking about a cast. If you do have 60, are you going to do a double cast? Like how are you going to go through that? Next thing is the expectation of the school. Is there a vetting process? Does the teacher select? Is there approval needed by admin in any way? You need to find that out before you go and decide to do Grease. You know, you want to make sure that you've got your bases covered. What are the strengths of your students? If you've got a group that is very strong at comedic timing, do comedy. If they struggle with that, maybe do dramatic, or if they're really, really advanced and they've already done, or they're really great, they've already done comedy, you're like, oh, I want to challenge them to do something more dramatic, but look at that and make sure that that is important. If you're new and you don't know, ask. If it's a brand new club at the school and you have no idea, ask their teachers what their strengths in class are. That's important to know. Community expectations is one of those kind of underwritten things that some communities care a lot and are very opinionated about what art is done, and some do not. So especially if you're new to your community, find out, because the last thing you want is to do something that you think is great and very important story or lesson to be learned, and your community to say that was going too far, or you shouldn't have done that. You should have done some other show. Okay. So know your audience, know what their kind of triggers are. What are the debatable topics? Is it a community that, you know, if you did a show that has violence in it, is that going to trigger a community and show disapproval for your program? Or is it like intimacy between characters? You know, find out what it is. If you don't know, ask your principal, ask somebody. People are here to help you and they want you to be successful. So you need to set yourself up for success. Getting the rights. A lot of you first timers, I've never done this before. So a couple things to remember is once you've selected the show, you must obtain the rights, and you must obtain the rights prior to auditioning or doing anything with the show. So get them early. Some companies, you get the rights really easily. I know MTI is very quick to come back. Others like Concord may take some time. Some shows have restrictions as far as their professional tours go, and the vicinity of your show to that, or if there are other schools doing your show. So get those rights early, find out what that is. Make sure you read your contract and any additional rider thoroughly. Do not skip over that. People are very, very specific about what they want for their show. If you want to question that, you can always write the company and request just changing the writer. Sometimes they'll allow you, sometimes they say absolutely not. So make sure you read that and you know the expectations. Last thing to think about is make sure and figure out how the company wants you to return your scripts. Are they rentals that you will be returning? Are they ones, a lot of junior and youth and teen and school show versions, you get to keep the physical copy of the script so you can write in them, do whatever you want. A lot of companies that make you return them say that you can only use pencil, no highlights, and you have to erase thoroughly. So you want to make sure you do that, or else you're going to get charged on the back end for damaging their script. So keep that in mind. In all my years of directing, one of the most important lessons I learned is to surround myself with the people that are going to help me pull off the most successful show for my students. In the beginning, I tried to do it all, and it was very tiring. I was very overwhelmed, and I don't think I did it as thoroughly as I would have liked to if I'd had the right team. So think about what you need. If you are a director that is a music teacher, then you probably don't need a music director. If you are a dance instructor, you're not going to need a choreographer. If you are a handyman, you may not need a set builder, but figure out where you are lacking in strengths and then figure out who you're going to need for that. It could be teachers, parents, it could be professionals. Reach out to the community, find out who it is, ask other people who they have used. If maybe you've even I've tried costuming in the past and I'm just struggling with it, find someone to do it. Everyone in your community, I hope, will want the success of you and your students. So find that out. Your parent liaison, so important. Find a parent volunteer to be your go-between between your parents and yourself. I have one per grade level, and it's so great because if parents have a question, they will post it in our Remind or whatever we use. And one of the parent liaisons will see it before I do and will be able to answer the question. And it's something that I just don't have to worry about. They also handle all my volunteers and setting the things up so that I can focus on the students and their success. So find you a reliable person that will help you with that. It'll be a game changer, I promise. Okay, the next step is the audition process. Plan how you will audition, when and where, your audition requirements, if you're going to require them to do a song and a monologue or just act through singing, make those expectations clear. I would recommend having a rubric or talk to your admin about whether their expectation is to have a rubric. It's always safe just to have in case a parent disagrees with a decision. But some people don't do it. I just think it's a great backup. Adjudicators, have someone else in that room. Get your team together. You've got my team as me, my choreographers, my music director. In the past where I didn't have those things, I would bring in reliable teachers that would judge them appropriately and give positive feedback, but never do auditions by yourself, just because it is the easiest way for people to disagree with you. And you're not going to please everybody. There's always going to be someone that has a disagreement. But how do you deal with that? You can share the results as far as their rubric. I also always make a blanket statement before, after, and in the weeks following. If anyone would like to meet with me and discuss their audition, I'm happy to do so. I just always tell them that the proper etiquette for that is not to say, well, why didn't I get this part? But rather, what can I do in my audition to improve so that the next time I may get a different role? Keeping it very positive usually works well with them. Scheduling and your calendar. We do our calendar for the entire year over the summer. We write down everything we're going to do every day. We decide what days are dance days, what days are blocking days, what days are music days. And then on each one of those, what song we're going to be doing. Having that very clear expectation that is set to the students at the beginning of the year, they know exactly what's going to happen. I also put in their goals, the first stumble through, off book, first run through. And just a note that your schedule may change. Testing happens, all kinds of things happen, and you may not meet that goal. And that's okay. Just try not to get too far behind and stick to your schedule. Adjust as you need to. We'll notice we'll get way ahead and then we have time to keep going or go back and fix something. So make a clear schedule. You'll think. Rehearsals. What does an everyday or whatever your rehearsal day looks like? Always have a good warm-up. Have people that are students that are selected to do the warm-up every day so that you can do manageable things like take attendance, handle notes, absences, anything like that you need to do. I then say what the expectation of the day is. Today we'll be working on get your head in the game for the people in the basketball scene. The others will be working with Hugo on stick to the status quo. Make sure they have a pen and pencil and they are prepared to go. You may need to teach them, especially if you're new, look at how to mark up your script so that you know that they know what it means if you put an XL, cross left to Troy, say hi, so that they know what that means. I have found middle school and high schoolers are terrible at writing notes, so I have to keep an eye on them and make sure they're doing it. Then you rehearse, and at the end of the day, I like to do shout outs. I like for the students to give a big shout out to someone for something very specific that they did that day, and they like to do that, and it ends the day really well. So I encourage you to do that. On your tech week, you've done everything up to this point, so now it's just to putting on the show. Make sure you've got your time schedule and reiterate expectations every day. You may need to look at how late your rehearsal is, if you're feeding them, if you need to provide dinner, or if not, if you need to provide a snack. Our rehearsals, we get out of school early, so we're done at 6, 7. So we usually just give them a snack. Make sure that you get yourself some rest. Make sure you have your volunteers there every day. Another thing you might want to think about is concessions versus no concessions. If you decide to do concessions, making sure you have that taken care of. Change for the week, if you are able to take take money and not just online. Make sure that you have posters that have your QR code for online purchasing and information they need to do. And don't forget to do vows. I always seem like vows is the last thing I do, and it's always the first thing the kids want to do. So there. For show days, make sure you have a clear call time and expectations of what time they should be ready for warm-ups, mic check, vice versa. You need to decide what time you're going to open the house to make sure that people are in places prior to that. The very opening, you need to decide whether you're going to do a live curtain speech versus a recording. Our program has sponsors, so we always do a live curtain speech so that we make sure and get them shout out. But in the past, I've done recorded. And then also, very importantly, your cleanup and strike expectations for the students. And finally, the show is over. What do you do afterward? Well, after you strike and clean, some fun things to do are paper plate awards that are just kind of silly awards that everybody gets. It's fun. It makes us laugh. It makes us remember the show. Maybe watch the show if you've got an archival licensing to record. Maybe write or discuss reflections, whatever you like. And the last thing is that I was dealing with one of my directors that I helped this year for her first time is that post-show depression is a real thing. Getting sad after a show is over is very normal. So what do I say? It's a real thing. It's okay. Take your time. Some things that I always suggest, or I suggested her, are to write notes, reflect on the positive, and she says that she's been writing notes to each of the students and that has really helped. So I hope this has helped you new directors out there, and have a great day.